What if I told you that every single financial news network, every major economic headline, and every talking head on television is about to be rendered completely and utterly obsolete in the next 60 minutes, because a seismic shift in the global monetary order has just occurred without a single public announcement, and the proof is now circulating in the encrypted channels of the world's most powerful financial institutions, confirming that the Iraqi Dinar, the Vietnamese Dong, and the Zimbabwean ZIM have just been assigned new exchange rates that will not only rewrite the economic future of their nations but will also unleash a tsunami of wealth that will wash over the entire planet, redefining what it means to be wealthy and forever altering the balance of power. The moment we have been anticipating, preparing for, and analyzing through countless hours of research has finally arrived, not with a loud bang on the world stage, but with a quiet, definitive click in the digital ledger of a central bank, and this single click has set in motion a chain of events so powerful that it mirrors the greatest monetary resets in human history, from the revaluation of the German mark to the stunning comeback of the Kuwaiti Dinar, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that history is not a linear path but a cyclical force that rewards those who are paying attention to its rhythms and patterns. The new rate for the Iraqi dinar is no longer a speculative fantasy, it is a concrete reality based on the fundamental, undeniable value of Iraq's vast natural resources, particularly its oil reserves, which are among the largest on the globe, meaning the currency is finally being untethered from the artificial constraints imposed upon it after the war and is being allowed to float towards its true, intrinsic worth, a value that reflects the nation's potential to become an economic powerhouse in the Middle East once its financial infrastructure is fully integrated into the international system. Simultaneously, the Vietnamese Dong's new valuation is a direct and powerful acknowledgement of Vietnam's meteoric rise as a global manufacturing and technological leader, a nation that has consistently posted staggering economic growth figures and has become an indispensable link in the global supply chain, necessitating a currency with the strength and stability to facilitate its immense and growing trade surplus with the rest of the world. And in what is perhaps the most shocking development of all, the new Zimbabwean ZIM currency, born from the catastrophic hyperinflation of its predecessor, has been launched with a solid, gold-backed foundation, a move that signals a profound and decisive break from the past and a commitment to establishing a stable and trustworthy medium of exchange that is backed by tangible assets, a lesson learned in the most brutal way possible and now being implemented with fierce determination. This trio of monetary events happening in near-perfect unison is not a coincidence, it is a coordinated strategy, a deliberate restructuring of the global financial architecture designed to move away from the pure fiat system that has dominated for decades and towards a new paradigm where currency value is increasingly linked to real-world assets, productive economic capacity, and national resources. The implications of this are staggering for the entire world, but for you, the individual investor who has been patiently waiting for this signal, it represents the single greatest financial opportunity of your lifetime, a chance to be on the right side of a historical pivot that will be studied for generations to come. The data confirming these rates is not coming from vague forums or unsubstantiated rumors, it is being sourced from authenticated financial telegrams and confirmations from primary banking contacts in the corresponding regions, information that is so fresh it has not yet been processed by the mainstream media apparatus, giving you a critical, albeit narrow, window of time to comprehend the situation and make calculated decisions before the masses are awakened to this new reality. The gates are beginning to open, and the first wave of information is now breaking upon the shore, which means the clock is ticking down to the moment when these new rates become official public knowledge and the global rush to adjust portfolios and acquire positions begins in earnest, creating a frenzy that will make rational action difficult and calculated moves nearly impossible for those who are late to the party. Your awareness at this precise moment is your most valuable asset, a head start that is more precious than gold itself, because you are witnessing the dawn of a new financial era before the rest of the world has even had its morning coffee, and what you choose to do with this knowledge in the next few hours will determine your financial trajectory for the rest of your life. Now, to fully grasp the earth-shattering significance of what is unfolding before our eyes, we must journey back in time and understand the immutable economic principle that all great wealth is not created in the steady grind of bull markets, but in the violent, disorienting, and profoundly opportunistic shifts of monetary resets, where the old system is deliberately dismantled to make way for the new, and the evidence for this is etched into the history books with stunning clarity, from the Weimar Republic's collapse and subsequent rebirth to the miraculous recovery of the Kuwaiti Dinar, which provides us with an almost perfect blueprint for exactly what we are seeing today with the Iraqi Dinar, the Vietnamese Dong, and the Zimbabwean ZIM. Let's take a deep, uncompromising look at the Kuwaiti scenario, because it is the most direct and powerful parallel. Following the First Gulf War, the Kuwaiti Dinar, which had been pegged to a basket of currencies, was severely devalued and replaced with a temporary currency, creating a period of maximum pessimism and financial chaos where many outside the country wrote off the nation's economic future, but for those with the insight to see the undeniable value of Kuwait's vast oil reserves and The geopolitical will of the international community to restore the nation. This period was the ultimate buying opportunity, a moment to acquire the currency at its absolute nadir. The result was one of the most spectacular monetary events in modern history. When the government reinstated the pre-invasion dinar and later revalued it dramatically, the wealth of those who had held or acquired the currency during the crisis multiplied exponentially overnight, effectively creating a wave of millionaires who were rewarded not for luck, but for their understanding of a fundamental truth. A nation's currency, when backed by immense tangible resources and strategic global importance, cannot be held down indefinitely. Now, apply that exact same logic to the Iraqi dinar today. Iraq is not a poor country. It is a country with temporarily poor financial mechanics, sitting atop one of the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, a resource that the entire world remains utterly dependent upon, and the recent geopolitical moves, the stabilization efforts, and the slow but steady integration into the international banking system under the guidance of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have all been leading to this precise moment, the moment when the currency is allowed to reflect the true, staggering value of the nation's natural wealth, a recalibration that mirrors the Kuwaiti playbook in almost every single detail. Similarly, the Vietnamese Dong story is not one of post-war recovery but of explosive, forward-looking growth, much like the ascent of the Japanese yen or the South Korean won in previous decades, where a nation transforms itself from agrarian society into a global industrial and technological powerhouse, and as that economic output and global trade surplus swell, the currency must inevitably strengthen to reflect that new reality, moving from an undervalued state to a fair value state, a process that generates immense wealth for those who position themselves during the transition phase. And Zimbabwe, while a more complex case, follows the pattern of a nation seeking radical redemption through monetary discipline. The introduction of a gold-backed currency is a direct and desperate attempt to re-establish trust, mirroring in spirit if not in scale the German introduction of the Rentenmark, which was backed by land and industrial assets and successfully halted one of the worst hyperinflations in history, proving that a currency backed by tangible, valuable assets can restore faith and value almost instantaneously. The convergence of these three distinct but parallel monetary events, a post-conflict resource-based revaluation, an economic ascension-driven appreciation, and a hyperinflation resolution through asset backing, creates a perfect storm of financial opportunity that we have not witnessed in over half a century, and it signals a coordinated move away from the pure fiat debt-based system that has dominated since the end of the gold standard, a system that is now showing profound signs of stress and exhaustion. This is the great unwinding, the controlled demolition of the old financial order that many of us have been anticipating, and it is being executed not through a single global currency, but through the strategic recalibration of key national currencies that represent the new pillars of the emerging economic landscape, pillars built on resources, production, and tangible asset backing. The data streams confirming this transition are now live, the algorithms of major banks are starting to recalibrate, and the first electronic fund transfers at these new rates are already being processed, which means the abstract concept of a monetary reset is now a concrete, transactional reality, and we are currently in the eye of the hurricane, in that brief, surreal period of silence after the initial shockwave has passed but before the full force of the global reaction hits. Your understanding of this historical context is what separates you from the vast majority of the population who will only comprehend what happened months or years from now, when the story is told in retrospect, by which time the life-changing window of opportunity will have long since slammed shut, leaving them as mere spectators to the greatest wealth transfer of our time, rather than active participants who position themselves at the very forefront of the new financial dawn. So, the critical, undeniable, and urgent question now screaming for an answer is what you, as an individual standing at the precipice of this irreversible financial revolution, are going to do with this information now that it has been laid bare before you, because knowledge without immediate and decisive action is nothing more than a fleeting thought, a missed opportunity that will haunt you for decades to come as you watch others reap the rewards of a foresight you yourself possessed but failed to act upon. And the brutal truth of this situation is that the window for proactive, calm, and strategic movement is shrinking with every passing second as this intelligence filters out from private banking channels to institutional traders and finally to the hysterical frenzy of the mainstream media, which will trigger a global stampede that will make logical decision-making nearly impossible for the average person. This is your final warning and your ultimate call to action, the moment where you transition from being a passive observer of history to an active architect of your own financial destiny, and the steps you take in the next 24 hours will define the quality of your life, your family's security, and the legacy you leave behind. So you must first, immediately, and without a single moment of hesitation, verify these new rates for yourself through your own primary financial institutions or contacts to build the unshakable personal conviction required to move forward, because faith in a source can only take you so far, but personal confirmation builds the foundation for unwavering resolve. Then, you must conduct a ruthless and honest audit of your current financial position, assessing your liquidity and your capacity to participate meaningfully in this historic event, because this is not the time for timid, symbolic gestures.